Hey guys, this is Charles Yeager with Yeager Film. Today I just want to make a tutorial showcasing a few quick tips for anybody that's working with 360 video and particularly working with Mettle Skybox plugins for After Effects. Now these tips are geared more toward people that have a little bit of experience with 360 footage, but hopefully these tips will help you in your workflow. Alright, let's get to it. The first one here, when you bring in your 360 footage, it comes in an equirectangular format like this. This is just me on top of a hillside, so you can see how in the center everything looks normal, and as it gets closer to the poles down here you get all the distortion. But this is the ideal case that your footage will come out looking like this. Let's say you stitched it in something like color, auto pano. A lot of times when your footage gets stitched in those systems, it'll come out looking something like this. It'll be kind of misaligned, where you kind of have this weird warping going on. And we want it to look like this because this is what it needs to be if we're going to upload it or edit it. But let's go ahead and look at this misaligned footage. Now, sometimes it can be difficult to correctly align this up quickly, and I'll just show you kind of how that works. So I'm going to select my footage. I'm going to go to Effect and go to Mettle Skybox Converter. And with my footage, I'm going to go to the Reorient Camera View, and you can see we have the Reorient Tilt, Pan, and Roll, and you can play with these and try to sync them up and figure out exactly how to get that footage straight. But there's a real easy method you can use just by looking at this footage. You can figure it out really quickly. So I'm going to undo what I just did there, get everything back at 0. What I usually do is I'll turn on the title action safe, and that's going to create a target right here in the center of my footage, just like that. Now, one thing to note with 360 video, typically your horizon, if it's on a flat ground surface, is going to be going right through the middle of your footage. So in essence, we know that where this landscape meets the sky should be right here at the center. And so we can easily figure out how this footage is misaligned. And we have the tilt and the roll. So what I usually do in this case, if my footage is misaligned like this, I'll look at the center and say, okay, is the horizon on the crosshairs? And in this case, it's not. So if the horizon right here is not in the center, that means our tilt is off, which makes sense because in this case, the camera is tilted too far forward. So we can just adjust the tilt right here and easily get this level back down. So I'll just pull this down, and there we go. Now we can see we have it level, and you can see the crosshairs is right here on the horizon line. We can pull that down just a little bit more, get it just right. So right there, and now we can see our footage looks correct. Now other times your footage may be off on the roll axis, and if that's the case, an easy way to tell that, let's go over here to this footage here, and we can see we've got some more footage that's off axis. I actually offset it with the Skybox converter, but just for this demonstration. So let's turn on the title action safe again, and let's look at the crosshairs. Now you can actually see the crosshairs is actually right there on the horizon line, where the land meets the sky there. So if you see that, that's a telltale sign that you're off on the roll axis. So in this case we are, so I can just pull this back over, and you can see it's adjusting the roll there, and we can level this back off at 0. Now there may be instances where it'll be off on the roll and the tilt, and in that case what I typically do first is I'll look at the horizon line right here at the crosshairs, and I'll say, okay, this needs to be right there, so let's go ahead and correct that first, which would be the tilt. And once I've got that corrected, it's a lot easier to come in here and correct the roll axis. So that's just something you can keep in mind whenever you get your footage. If it's imported and it's all wonky, you can easily recognize what you need to fix, which would be, in my case, the tilt first and then the roll. And that'll help you make sense of your footage a lot quicker. Now the next tip I have for you is matching the field of view you see when you watch a video on YouTube. So if you're watching a 360 video on YouTube and you're editing it here in After Effects, you might be like, well, how much can I actually see when I'm looking at this on YouTube at one time? I'll go ahead and show you what you can do for that. So I've got some equirectangular footage and a composition, which is in this forest comp. I'm going to go ahead and add this to a new composition. I'll just call it Forest Viewer. And on this Forest Viewer comp, I want to select the Forest comp, and I want to go to Effect, Mettle Skybox Viewer. And that'll bring this up, and I want to set the output frame width to 1920, which is full HD. And now I just need to right-click and create a new camera. And if you want to match the correct field of view settings that you will have on YouTube, just go over here to Preset and select 15mm. This will match perfectly with the YouTube camera, so you can hit OK. And now we can see exactly the same field of view as we will when we're watching it back on YouTube. So this is a cool way you can preview your footage in After Effects and have the correct field of view. And that way you're not looking at it in the wrong perspective. As a demonstration here, I'll select the camera, go to Layer, Camera Settings, and let's say you selected 20mm. We can see that this changed our field of view here when I select those different camera settings. So it's just good to know that using the 15mm preset in After Effects will match perfectly with the YouTube field of view you're going to have when you upload it online. Alright, the next tip that I have for you is you may know that you need to inject your 360 video with some metadata using the 360 video metadata tool before you upload it to YouTube. So you've probably seen this before. You select your video, it injects that data into it, and you get a new MP4 file. Well, actually, in the new Premiere Pro 2015.3 and above, let's jump over to Premiere Pro real quick. You can actually do this right when you export your video, so it saves you that extra step. So I've got my forest video here. I'm just going to go to File, Export, Media. And here we can see the export settings. You just need to make sure your on format is H.264. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom here, you'll see VR video, and just check video is VR. And you can come down here even further and select monoscopic or stereoscopic, either over, under, or side by side. In my case, this is just monoscopic, so I'll leave that as is and click export. And now when you do that, it's going to inject that metadata into it, so it saves you that extra step and you can just upload straight to YouTube. Now the last tip that I have for you is if your videos are playing back really choppy on YouTube when you're watching them on a desktop, if you're using Google Chrome, I'll show you something you can activate in the settings that should help play that video a lot smoother. So what you need to do on the browser of Google Chrome, just go to Settings, and then in the Chrome settings page, scroll down to the bottom and you'll see Show Advanced Settings, select that. Then if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see an option that says Use Hardware Acceleration when available. Make sure that's checked on, and then your 360 videos should play back a lot smoother on YouTube when you're using the Google Chrome browser. Alright guys, hopefully you picked up some tips from this video. This is Charles Yeager for Yeager Film. Thanks for watching.